The wet tropics and Hinchenbrook Island. We're back on Hinchenbrook to do the Thornsborough Trail. Named after a local conservationist, this 32-kilometre trail is usually walked in 4 days, but we're going to spend a leisurely 7 days to get to the bottom. My first trip to Hinchenbrook was on a very slow fishing boat. Today, well, it looks like it's going to be one of those days. Cloud down on Mount Bowen, and it doesn't look too good for the rest of the week. Everyone's happy here, and we can't wait to get onto the island. We've just been talking to the charter operator, and he thinks that the weather is going to be wet, and it's been one of the wettest seasons they've had up here for quite a long time. Well, looks like we're just about ready to dock, and this is the start of the Thornsborough Trail.
Giving Helen some lures.
It looks like we've picked up a hitchhiker. A young lady out from England to do a bit of walking in Australia. Part of our group coming through the paperbark forest. Here we have Helen, and behind her Neil, and our new friend Elaine.
It's less intrusive.
We've arrived on the eastern beach. This is known as Zoe Bay. Down the beach 100 metres is our first marker. And here, a couple of thickneys to see us on our way. As we adventure over the hill, we find our first creek crossing. And if it's going to be like this all the way, it's going to be an interesting 7 days. A short trip over the headland gets us to Little Zoe Bay, and this is where we're going to be staying for the night. We've reached our first campsite, and Helen and Harold are sitting down for a little bit of afternoon tea. It's a delightful place, this. It's not too long, and the clouds start building up over Mount Bowen. It looks like it's going to rain very shortly. The clouds are getting lower and lower. Even the small peaks are starting to disappear. Our friend Elaine's arrived, and Anne is directing her across the creek. Our first campsite is looking good. We've set up everything and we're ready to go to bed. And a couple of umbrellas do help. Next morning, a little bit of thunder, and the weather is turning for the worst. We're all getting ready to move off very shortly. We're just about packed up now, and we're heading off down the beach. Anne and I have moved off early to go down to this section of the river. We've waited here for the others, and it looks like the weather is turned for the worst. It is pouring here at the moment.
Sorry, I thought you might Oh, we thought we'd have better wait.
We have just walked off the beach to find our second major creek crossing. Janet's up the front, and it looks a little bit tricky in spots, but I think we'll manage to get across without any difficulties.
Not there.
A couple of hours into the second day, and we've decided to have a little bit of a break. After the short break, we've headed off down the track, or is it the creek? We're not too sure at the moment. We're just finding our way down here to see whether or not it is the right way. Anyhow, Helen's leading off. We've all decided we should write a book, and the title is going to be How Wet Can It Get?
Walking track.
So we've got Harold here acting the goat. You never know, one slip. We're only 1.5 days into the trip, and we've crossed 3 or 4 major creek crossings and approximately 30 small creeks. It is just raining continually. Our next creek crossing, and this one is impassable. Looks like we're going to have to stay here for the night. Next morning, Harold and Helen go down and have a look at the creek and see what's happening. It's still quite high, but I think we're going to manage to get across without any difficulty. Nothing like a bit of excitement to start the day off, and it's looking good. At this point, our group has broken into 2. Neil, Janet and Elaine have turned back. We have 4 people left in the party. There's Anne, myself, Harold and Helen. We have 5 days left. Hopefully, we will be able to get down to the bottom end of the island without too much difficulty. We've reached Zoe Bay. And look at this, the sun's out. It's incredible after 1.5 days of wet, soggy. It's been incredible out there. As soon as we reached camp, Harold's out there already fishing. This is one of the great campsites on Hinchenbrook, and I think Harold might be out there trying to catch a crocodile. This is the small entrance to the campsite with a few notifications. Beware of crocodiles. I wonder why. We're trying to dry out as much as we possibly can, just in case we don't get very many sunny days. Anne and I have decided to wander up to Zoe Creek Falls and have a look and see what's going on there. As Anne and I wander along the track, Anne finds quite a lot of interesting photographs. As we reach Zoe Creek, it seems like the creek is still impassable for today. We'll have to try for tomorrow and see what it's like. As we wander back, Anne finds some more interesting things to photograph. After half an hour of wandering along the trail, we eventually get back to find a number of people have come into camp. And a little bit of wildlife running across the mudflats. Another couple have just wandered into camp. Looks like they're heading south. A short walk up the beach finds a mangrove kingfisher and a white-faced heron paddling around on the water's edge. It has been an incredible day. The sun has been out and we've had a great day just wandering around the beach, looking at all the beautiful things that Hinchenbrook has to offer. These mudskippers are also enjoying a wonderful sunny day. The wind is starting to build up again, and the cloud is starting to roll in from the southeast. It doesn't look too good. It looks like it's going to rain again tomorrow. We're up early this morning, ready to head off to Zoe Creek Falls. As we walk up the track, we can hear the sound of the water, and it sounds like it's still just a bit too high to cross. So we've decided to do a right-angled turn here to get up on top of the ridge. When we get to the top, we find a magnificent display of Zoe Creek Falls in all its splendour. It's been a pretty hard morning. We've crossed Zoe Creek a number of times and we've been up to our waists in water. Anne and I are taking our time up this section. Harold and Helen are in front at the moment. They found this delightful little spot here and we've called it Cairns Cross. We've just come down the hill to see Sunken Reef Bay, and this is where we intend to spend another 2 nights. The group's wandering down the hill to the intersection, and in about 15 minutes we find Sunken Reef Bay. Here at Sunken Reef, the bay supplies everything, even the kitchen table. Nothing like having everything at your fingertips. After lunch, we wander down the beach to find some natural sculptures to do a little bit of sculpting. All these sculptures have been built close to the edge, so in time they will go back into nature. Here we have nature's own designs, the waves, and as the waves disappear, the sand. And here we have one of our larger sculptures. We've decided to call this Thong Sail. It's been a wonderful 2 days here at Sunken Reef. The campsite's been great, and we've had some wonderful time building sculptures on the beach. On Hinchenbrook, nature has done wondrous things. The beaches, the insect life, and just the sheer beauty of its shores. And we've added a few sculptures. These sculptures won't last long, and by tomorrow morning they'll be all gone with the incoming tide. Next morning, nature has reclaimed its beach and it looks as pristine as ever. With our slow trip back up the hill to the junction to see Sunken Reef Bay disappear. And we head back into the rainforest with its overflowing creeks and beautiful rainforest. About an hour down the track, we eventually hit Diamantina Creek. This is one creek we weren't really looking forward to. Diamantina Creek. It has got a reputation of being one of the most difficult creeks to cross on Hinchenbrook Island, and you can see why. There is boulders everywhere, deep holes, and Anne and Helen are having quite a bit of a time. A few minutes more and everyone will have made it across the deepest section of the creek. Even Harold's having a bit of a hard time here. I've had to go back and give them a little bit of a hand as well. We've eventually made it across, and we're heading off to Mulligan's. After 15 minutes we eventually reach Mulligan's, and this has got a reputation as well. The best place to see bush rats. Mulligan's is a lovely place just to sit and relax for a little while. We're only spending one night here. The tent's up, we've packed up, we've had tea, the light's out, and we're packing up again. And we've had our recreation stop as well. With only another 20 creeks to cross before we hit Mulligan's Bay. It is our last day on the island, and no rain in sight. Just a little bit of mud coming our way. One of our very last swamps, and there's quite a bit of mud here. Helen, Anne and Harold are having a great time.
That looks good.
We're not far off Mulligan's Bay, and here we have our friend from the north. Looking south, we can see George's Point, about 6 kilometres down the beach. Anne and Helen are putting on their insect repellent, and we probably will need it for the last few kilometres down the beach. We're finding quite a bit of wildlife as we wander down the beach. This red-capped plover, and quite amazingly a small shark cruising through the waves. Look at this, our very last creek crossing. Around the corner and we've hit George's Point, and over there the mainland and our boat trip back to Halifax and eventually to Cardwell.